with CNN, correct? Yes. And then we explained the 2 other team members that were with me, 3, including the security that we had hired for this. And then they left, came back, and then let us out of the van. We were inside the van handcuffed the whole time. And then we were sat down, waited for a little bit more. And then from there, that was when they eventually came back with our belongings that they had confiscated over the course of this. They unclipped our handcuffs. And then that
racist fuckers could clearly see this was a reporter. You can clearly see he's a reporter with CNN.
Because it seemed that conversation may have happened, but it didn't happen with us in particular. And it's also
white guy treated him with respect, with courtesy.
It was a nerve-wracking moment for all of us watching. You know, Bakari Sellers just described watching it and saying that it was really emotional and heart-pumping.
Shit was demoralizing.
Because he was scared for you. And other people watching, given the backdrop of everything that's happening in Minneapolis, he was scared for you at this moment when you were
what the fuck, white people? What the actual
I
fuck?
should also let you know that Josh Campbell, who was reporting a block or 2 away from you, was not taken into custody. He was treated quite politely. Were you scared when this was happening? And do you have any idea why you were arrested and not Josh Campbell?
Well, there was a moment, I would say, minutes after it happened where things started to sink in a little bit. I don't have to tell you, Allison or John, that sometimes when you're in this job, in these scenarios, there's a lot of adrenaline pumping. You're trying to focus and balance so many different factors. In a case like this, I'm trying to balance what the actual story is, how the storyline is advancing, while also trying to be aware of our surroundings, which at times can get dangerous. So there's that mentality. And then the arrest happened. I was still trying to communicate with you all as this was going on because I was just as confused as you. We had been showing our credentials throughout this entire week, and especially in the moments leading up to that, so I couldn't really understand what was going on. But as we were walking away and you were sort of taking in the entire neighborhood that had been completely decimated again from the passion of the protesters and unfortunately some of the rioting and looting that we had seen, it did cross my mind that what is really happening here? And the one thing that gave me a little bit of comfort was that it happened on live TV. There's been this, when you talk within the community about, let's just say, what's happened with George Floyd, there's always a discussion that what's happening isn't new, it's being filmed. And that speaks to the power of having something happen on camera because you can have people speak up for you without you saying anything. And that gave me a little bit of comfort knowing that you guys saw what was happening, I was living what was happening, and the country was seeing what was happening unfold in real time, right before their eyes. You don't have to doubt my story. It's not filtered in any sort of way. You saw it for your own eyes, and that gave me a little bit of comfort. Yeah, but it definitely was nerve-wracking at certain points.
This is not a tree falling in the woods. We all saw it happen before our eyes. And to a large extent, what's happened this entire week in that city is about seeing what's happened before our very eyes. Just hats off to the CNN internship program also, Omar. You were a CNN intern 8 years ago. And so however that training happened, between 8 years ago and now, it's certainly worked.
One way or another.
One way or another. Listen, because you were taken into custody, you were not able to do the one thing that I know you actually want to do more than anything else, which is to report, to tell us what you were seeing on the ground there, to tell us what had happened overnight in Minneapolis and why it's so important to the rest of the country. So I want to give you that opportunity now that was taken away while you were apprehended.
Well, better late than never, so this is okay. But I will say, in regards to that scene, it was a very serious situation unfolding there. And one of the main and central, or I would say the biggest thing that stuck out was that there was no first responder presence for hours. I mean, my crew showed up at least at 2:45 in the morning, maybe just after 3 o'clock in the morning, and our first live report wasn't until 5 a.m. And at that point, just before then, was when we started seeing law enforcement come in for the first time. So I don't know at what point they may have left, but again, for those hours, there was a building burning almost out of control, no firefighters. There were people looting and running through the streets, no police officers, again, onto that flurry of moments. And you talk about what unfolded over the course of the night. The main central image that we saw unfold just past 10 p.m. here was the Minneapolis Police 3rd Precinct that went up in flames literally in the midst of these protests.